Oh, what a day of Test cricket. Australia roared back in the last session and took control of the Test at the Gabba. Welcome back to Cricket Daily. I'm Menas. I'm with Denners. Paul, how are you?
Hey, Minners. G'day, everyone. Wow, what a day. Travis Head, once again, proves that the way to play Test cricket is play it as if it's white ball cricket. All this nonsense that everyone says about, it's about occupation and grinding it out. Play your natural game and the runs will come. What about that? What about
Oh,
that for an innings?
it was sensational. You don't often see a century in a session, and Paul is one who loves cricket history. You rarely see that.
You do, and it's a bit hard to compare because in the old days they bowl so many overs in an hour. In this session, I think it was at the point where he got his century, it was longer than a normal session because of the half-hour extra time. But they hadn't even bowled 30 overs, so yeah, really, really impressive. What did the 100 come off? How many balls? 84 or something like that?
85 balls, I think.
85. In the lead up to it, I was looking to try and find the fastest century ever scored at the Gabba, and as far as I can tell, this is it comfortably. Now, in the old days, they didn't always count the balls, but I think this is a pretty impressive achievement, and came right at the perfect time for Australia. I was actually not to name drop, but I was on English radio in the dead of the night while everyone was asleep over there. And I was at the one time when it looked like Australia was going to struggle a little bit. So I was very humble and missed my chance to be smug because the entirety of the time before my radio interview and the entirety of time afterwards, Australia was dominating. But there was that brief period where they got those 4 quick wickets, and it looked like England could be back in the game.
Yeah, well, you're spot on. Australia looked like they might give up a really good position after Labuschagne and Warner had batted well. And that's what I loved about Head's innings, that the match was in the balance and he took the aggressive option. And I heard Chris Rogers speaking on the radio this morning saying, that's what Travis Head does at Shield level. When he comes out to bat, he really tries to smack the bowlers around. And he wanted to see him do that at Test level, and he did it later on. So quite prophetic of Rogers. Australia 7 for 343 at the end of the second day. They're leading with 196. A terrific day for Australia. I mean, they win the day and are scoring over almost 350 in 84 overs. Quite tremendous.
Sure was. And back on Travis Head, I used to play a fictional game called Ian Chappell, where I would assume that everyone out there was trying to do the same as me and work out what Ian Chappell would say. And in this instance, if I was still playing it, I would say, I didn't actually hear him on the radio today, but I would deem that he said that he had played a counter-attacking innings. It's one of his real buzzwords, along with horizontal bat shots and the importance of number 3 and the captain. He loves the counter-attacking innings, and with good reason, because as we said, it brought Australia back from it was crazy that England couldn't have done more wrong than they did in the sense of bowling first when they shouldn't have, picking the wrong side, dropping catches, bowling no balls that got wickets, missing runouts. And yet for that brief flicker, you could suddenly see, they could restrict Australia to a lead of about 90 here. And who knows what would happen after that. But yeah, it's completely changed.
When Australia went from 1 for 166 to 5 for 195, I was worried that we were giving up the Test, that we might end up chasing down 200 300 in the last innings. So you're right, it did until Head got out there, it was in the balance. I mean, let's backpedal and start at the beginning of the day. Marcus Harris out early, caught in slips off Ollie Robinson for 3. I think if you'd scripted a Marcus Harris dismissal, it would have been that one.
Yeah. For all what I've been saying, that I've been happy with his average in recent years, as soon as that happened, it's sort of, I kind of thought that might happen. So I noticed they haven't missed him in the News Limited press. I think it's Nick Savage has written an article saying statistically he's now the worst opener in the history of the Ashes. They've taken great glee in saying that, but his figures are pretty modest. But I'm sure they'll give him another chance in Adelaide, and he'll have a second innings here. So you never know. But he does look like he's got that nick off in him in his locker too much.
Yeah, and it doesn't augur well for him because Adelaide with the pink ball won't suit his game, and they might not even bat in the second innings. I mean, we'll come to it later on, but I think Australia could roll England tomorrow, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So Harris goes early, and I thought England actually in that first sort of hour and a half bowled really well.
Yeah, I think The one thing that I would criticize them is that they did what they sometimes do. What is it that Michael Holding calls it? The pretty length, or whether they bowled a lot of balls that were certainly not bad, but there was that stat that they said that I think of his first 45 balls, Labuschagne was able to let 22 go through to the keeper. And I think that's something that they needed to work on. So they didn't bowl half trackers, they didn't bowl half volleys, but it was very noticeable, especially Labuschagne and to a degree Warner. They weren't interested in playing big, expansive drives to balls on the up outside the off stump, which I thought was tactically very smart because that's the way you get out. So, yeah, England bowled pretty well. And look, if a few things had gone their way, then it could have been very different. There was the catch that went to just short of, was it Joe Root off Labuschagne?
Yep.
Which and Mark Waugh made the point, even the one that Milan caught to get Harris out, he only just caught, and that really the whole slip should have been closer in. And then, of course, I mean, the no ball that clean bowled Warner, that was the turning point in the match. Obviously, I mean, it might be the turning point of the whole Ashes. That was a moment of, oh wow, England are really looking. They could open us up here. And then when they said the checking for the no ball, there's just this sense of inevitability. Like you could sort of tell from Stokes's body language that he knew he was in trouble. So yes, that was a dramatic moment in the day.
Oh, crazy. So Warner was 17 when he was bowled off the no ball. The score was on 30. It was the fourth ball, I think, of Stokes' spell, and all four had been no balls. David Warner went on to make 94 off 176, so crucial. And then Australia really sort of cruised into lunch at 1 for 113. So you have to sort of say at that point, Australia well on top. Labuschagne and Warner batted really well, but then they lose those wickets together. So Labuschagne, I've got to say that was a terrible shot. So I do my good day, bad day. Marnus Labuschagne's shot to Leach almost got the bad day award, but in the end, I've given it to Leach because Leach is 1 for 95 off 11. That was a bad day. Poor Jack Leach, terrible day. So he gets the bad day award. But that Marnus shot, he hits the ball before for 6, and then it's just a good length ball on off stump. It wasn't even wide, and he backs away and just cuts it to point. And that was just giving his wicket away. I mean, there was no reason to play the shot. It was a poor choice of shot to the ball. And had Australia collapsed from there and been all out, you would have got Mad Manners just completely roasting Labuschagne. So head saved Labuschagne from a Mad Manners roast, because my thing is, when you get in Test cricket, all the good batters say you got to cash in, and I think Labuschagne just gave his wicket away.
Oh, look, I think you're being ridiculously harsh.
Why?
Because he scored 74.
I didn't give him the bad day award, but he was a contender for it.
I think if I had to pick, maybe if I had to pick 20 bad day awards, he might be the 20th out of the 22. He had a very good day. He had a fine.
You don't give your wicket away at Test level. That was a poor
how many
shot.
Test matches have you played?
All right, champ. We're heading into day 2 of our daily podcast, and we're already just dismissing each other.
But in the innings, they were talking about the fact that he was in line to bring up, I think, 2,000 Test runs faster than, putting Bradman aside, it was just about equal second fastest in history. He got at 74 today. There's not much more you can ask from the bloke. Like, I think he's had a fantastic day.
All right, now almost bad day. So he gives his wicket away for 74. Then I think Smith out next, or was it Labuschagne? Yeah, Smith is out. Smith is out next, and then Warner. So Smith, I thought, looked pretty good out there, but weird for him to edge one.
It was weird because I had to go for I had to watch my daughter do her drama recital, and so I was actually listening to
a repeat of me on the weekend.
I know. It was excellent, by the way. But I was listening in the car on the way there, and so it gave me a good different perspective, actually. But it was interesting. I was listening to a mixture of SEN and ABC, and Jared Waitley been saying that actually Smith looked like he was. It was a very atypical Smith innings, that he was streaky, that he looked like a cat on a hot tin roof. Ian Healy said it reminded him of a little bit of Steve Waugh towards the end of his career, how he'd sort of want to jump out the gate, get to 20 or 30, and then he'd settle down. So they were saying the opposite of that. They were saying that Smith looked anything but good.
No, he played some nice drives, and I thought he looked fine, but weird for him to edge one. So that was off Wood. And then so then who's the next one out after Smith? Then Warner gets out to Robinson for 94, just spoons it to mid-off. You kind of feel, though, that Warner had been living such a charmed life at the crease. You can't really complain with that 94.
So Warner plays that shot, and you're absolutely fine. But you're willing to give almost give Labuschagne the bad player of the day. Anyway, I take your point. We'll get back to the no balls incident, by the way, as well, because I'm fuming about that whole situation.
And also, I think let's just spend 4 hours at the end complaining about the over rate.
Yes. We'll spend it, and we'll do it deliberately slowly to match the over rate.
Yeah,
I mean, that was
exactly.
But fantastic day's cricket, though. We should say. Yeah, I enjoyed every moment of it. But Warner, he had that the bowler for no ball, dropped catch where Rory Burns probably hasn't had the best Test match, when he dropped a sitter to go with his golden duck, and then Haseeb Hameed, where Warner flicked it to him and was out of his crease, and Hameed kind of threw it before he realised that Warner had fallen to the ground and was kind of marooned on the ground, threw it at the stumps and missed. So yeah, he lived a bit of a charmed life, but still, he batted very well in and around that. And then then Cameron Green got first baller.
Yes, and I don't know if you remember, but we commentated a Shield match at the SCG maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where I think it was 3 seasons ago now, probably.
Cummins got him.
And well, it was, remember both innings, he shouldered arms. In the first innings, maybe Hazelwood, in the second Cummins, or vice versa, and he was bowled both innings. So, I mean, there is something there. I mean, maybe he's vulnerable. First ball, shouldering arms. Maybe that's one of his weaknesses. But so he gets out for a golden duck, which, you can't say much, but it was not a pretty dismissal when you shoulder arms and get bowled. And I think I've got to give my good day award. I've got 2 good day awards. I want to give, obviously, Travis Head the best day.
Yep.
112 off 95. And also, what's a stunning achievement is he's also going to get a cop a massive fine for an audible obscenity that was caught on the stump mic. I'm not going to repeat it, but he certainly forgot he was playing international cricket there. So
that wasn't the ball that he got hit, though, was it? That was a different ball.
No. He just played and missed and went.
No, but I don't blame. I mean, they're meant to turn the stump mics off instantaneously, and if they don't, then
I don't think that's the rule anymore. I think that's the old rules. So 100 good day, but Ollie Robinson 3 for 48. I mean, you and I spoke about it in the lead up to this series. He could be effective on Australian wickets, and that was a stunning period of play. And it looked like, as we said, England might wrestle the game at that point.
Yep, and it was his bowling that Warner was dropped off as well. He was battling what looked like cramp later on in the day. It has had echoes of those English tours of old, where by the end of the tour, the manager was having to have a game because everything was going wrong.
And Stokes didn't look healthy.
No, and Ricky Ponting made the point that when Travis Head got that 4 overthrows, he cracked one to mid-off off Leach, and mid-off hurled it at the stumps, and it was a bad throw. It went through for 4 overthrows. Root had been standing at first slip, didn't move at all to back the bowler up. And, the close-ups of Root during this match, particularly today, his face looks drawn and pensive, and I think he's pretty angry. And, he can see where this tour could go. Hasn't got there yet. They could still hit back, but I felt a bit sorry for him.
Yeah, I mean, this was a disastrous day for England. I mean, as you say, it was like a quintessential English capitulation at the Gabba. Dropping catches, wickets off no balls, bowlers going down, batting collapse, a spinner that's getting carded. I mean, it's just tick. If you're playing Pommy Bingo, all the boxes are ticked right now.
Imagine if they'd won the toss and bowled and gone with Broad and Anderson. They might have already won the Test match by now.
What do you think about the Australian batter's tactic of just going hell for leather at Jack Leach? I mean, he's 11 overs, 1 for 95. That's a run rate of 8.65. I mean, that's good T20 cricket, not just T20 cricket. That was a tactic. I think it was helped by the fact that they saw Stokes a bit injured and they thought, well, here's our opportunity. But it was savage.
Well, that's the thing, that with these back-to-back Test matches, you get the England bowler. That's what's happened in the past, that where they've had really long periods of competing, but then the tour has just worn them down. And I think that strategy is excellent. That you don't give Root the chance to be able to rely on Leach, and so that the quicks have to rotate. And then we had Robinson with some cramp. Stokes looked like he'd injured his knee. It was all struggling. Actually, just one thing before I forget, because it was kind of around this point of the day. When I was watching a bit of it on KO and hearing the Fox commentary, and Shane Warne, to the point that we raised yesterday, and it wasn't talking about us, but he said that they've got the first draft pick at the London Spirit, and they're giving serious contemplation to picking Mitchell Starc. And then Warne said, "Oh, wouldn't that be good if I became his coach? We'd have a few beers after the day's play and a few good chats." And I think it was quite nice of Warney to it went a little bit of the way to redress some of the stuff that he'd said before. I know you're not going to be mollified by it. I thought it was a bit funny though.
Oh yeah, but that's what I want Warney to do. Like I want Warney, when say something like that happened in the first innings and Starc gets the wicket, to have a laugh and go, "Oh, he's made me look like a bit of a muppet." That's all you have to do, and then everybody laughs and you move on.
On that front, I need to apologise to you. You said how the ball swung a foot and a half the first ball yesterday, and I thought you were just being hyperbolic. And I said, no, I don't think it swung a foot and a half. But I've subsequently seen the footage, and you're right, it swung a foot and a half. So yes, I stand corrected. I knew it swung a bit. I just didn't realise it had swung that far.
Apology accepted. Alex Carey's first Test innings, 12 off 32, pulled a half tracker to Pope at mid-wicket, so he'll be unhappy with the dismissal, but I think he looked a Test player, calm, composed, didn't look out of his depth.
Yeah, that was exactly when my daughter's ballet, not my daughter's ballet, my daughter's drama was on. So I've read the Crick Info updates, but you don't quite.
You just take my word for it.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah, 12 off 35, yeah. Fantastic.
Cummins, he made 12 in his first innings.
He's got to bat at 9. Cummins should not be batting at 8. We've said it all the time. He has everything about Cummins is fantastic, except his batting is vastly overrated. He has one of the lowest averages of all time for an Australian batting at number 8. Stark's a better bat. They should swap around. Yeah,
it's a good hill to die on. So Australia finish 7 for 343. Stark's 10 not out. Travis Head 112 not out of 95 deliveries. Head the winner today. We'll get to all the comments, but really, that to me has cemented Head's spot for a while, because not the fact that it was 100, but the way he played. That's what we need from a number 5, an aggressive counter-attacking player, and just. Hats off to him, because there was a lot of pressure on him. The Khawaja Head thing would have been such a close run thing. Had he done what Harris did and edged to second slip, then the Wolves would be circling. Well, that doesn't make sense, but whatever, you know what I mean.
And long may he play this way. That this is the way he should play. He's he made his mark those years ago in that day, the New Year's Eve game in Adelaide in the Big Bash, and keep on playing this way. Obviously, there will be times when you can't, but I'm just really happy for him. And that ball later on the day where he copped a full toss from a beanball really from Mark Wood that luckily hit his glove first and then ricocheted up into his grill. His reaction to that was exemplary. I mean, it's easy to react in a friendly, happy way when you realize A, I haven't been seriously injured, and B, I've just played the best innings of my life, and so you'd be on a high. But he was really charming how he smiled and sort of patted Mark Wood, and they were very calm about that. If that audible obscenity thing, they shouldn't find that. I've got, you have the stump mics. Occasionally, players are going to say a swear word. No one cares. If the kids are listening and they pick it up as a result, we'll be a better parent. And
it was a pretty extreme swear word.
It's one of the poorest swear words. Yes.
Yeah. And like, it's so poor, I'm not even going to say it on this stream, and I'll say just about anything. So,
Yes.
look, I've had Head on this podcast a few times, and he's a lovely guy. Really, not a simple guy, but he loves his golf and he's in a long-term relationship. So, I think we're going to see some good stuff from him. So, look, we're going to get to the questions in a minute. A couple of things I want to finish with. Mark Waugh said after the game he thinks it'll be over tomorrow, that England will get bowled out. There's still enough in the wicket that the Aussie quicks will just rattle through England. What do you think?
It's possible. You could go the other way. In 2010, after the first innings, England were behind by 250 or something, and they ended up 1 for 500 and drawing it. This pitch does look like it's not flattening out like that one did. That was one ball to Warner that went straight through the top and then bounced about 40 centimetres more than he expected. And then a few overs later, one died. No, I don't think. I think England will show some fight, but I don't. I think Australia still obviously goes without saying that Australia's still in the box seat. One thing I forgot to mention as well, Mark Wood, I thought bowled well. He's someone that I had scepticism about. I thought he justified his selection and bowled really well today.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their figures, so Mark Wood 1 for 57 in 20 overs, Robinson 3 for 48 in 18, Chris Wokes 1 for 56 in 20. That was fine, but then, Stokes wasn't at his best with the injury. Leach, we've talked about. Root had to bowl 6 overs of rubbish, although he got a wicket. So it just, the first 3, actually, when you think about it, if they had picked Broad or Anderson, as you said, their selector, they'd have been much better off.
Yeah, definitely. It's
you right again, Danners. Right again.
Oh no, I mean, I wasn't saying that.
I was. Wrong. I said it. Okay, and let's get stuck into it. So as soon as play ended, the messages started coming in. The first one, AGS cricket, and then from Steve, just furious that in 7 hours of cricket, they only played 84 overs. That's just the big up yours to the Gabba crowd. I mean, you got to do better than that.
I don't blame the players. I blame the administrators. The players, you kind of take as much rope as you can get. And if the administrators wanted to fix this, they would have fixed it years ago. And the ICC, they're culpable. Like, they could fix it overnight. I've said it before. First thing, obviously,
take Root's head off, put it on a spike, put it by the Gabba. No captain will ever do it again.
As I've always said, just make it every over you bowl more than 90, both sets of players, each player gets 10 grand for it. And then they bowl 150 overs in a day. No, but seriously, they should do what they do in the 100 and have something up on the board that says, if you don't have a certain number of overs bowled at a certain time, a fielder will have to go off the field, or there'll be penalties that will apply, and we're going to be all over the top of it, and it would be fixed instantly, and we'd never have to talk about it again. Either that, or the broadcaster should say, right, we are demanding a discount. We only got to bowl 92% of the overs. We're only paying 92% of the fee for today. That'd shut them up pretty quick.
Well, nothing seems to work. Nothing seems to work. Now, let's go through the questions.
Before that, just one thing. I want to do my stat of the day.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's stat of the day.
Stat of the day is, incredibly, that in Ben Stokes' first 5 overs, he bowled 14 no balls. So that's 14 out of 30.
Oh, yeah.
None of which were called on the field. The only one that was then called was the one that he got the wicket of David Warner. Now, this situation, and I haven't got my head around exactly how it has occurred, but what it seems as though is that, from what Alison Mitchell said on Channel 7, that the information technology supplier for the third umpire to do the calling, that went down before the test match. And so they've had to go back to the old method of the umpires on the field calling it. They didn't tell anyone, which is bloody disgraceful. They waited until they got caught out. Secondly, it's like the umpires didn't actually take it seriously. They've got so much into the habit of only looking at the business end that they stopped looking at the front foot. And I have great sympathy for the umpires, because if you call one that's not a no ball, there's no recourse for fixing that, and you can look like a prize goose. But how can this happen? This is the worst thing, because for the spectator, when the batter gets given not out as a result of the overstepping, it's such an unsatisfying experience. I know the bowlers should get their foot behind the line, but they haven't been able to for 10 years since this whole let's check the no balls came in, it has always been the case. This fixed it, because if it had been working, Ben Stokes would have been told, hey, mate, you went over the line there, no ball. He wouldn't have done it again. When Warner then would have got out, he would have been out. That's very much to the betterment of this test match if Australia got out lower in terms of the spectacle and everything else. So the ICC are an absolute disgrace that they have allowed this to happen. And, every time there's a wicket now, I'm going to think, oh, God, we're going to have to go through this purgatory of seeing, have they overstepped? Well, now that I think about it, they actually were doing it yesterday, and they didn't say it, but I sort of thought to myself, isn't it weird that after each wicket they are looking? They haven't been doing that of late. And I just thought for some reason they're doing it. But it's crazy to get so angry about this. And the day has been long and happy, so I've kind of calmed down. But when it happened, it's one of the angriest things I've been about in cricket in a long time. And I'm also angry that no one else seems to be that bothered by it.
I've saw a lot of Twitter anger, and it is frustrating. Look, I just think it's been poorly managed. The fact they weren't transparent about it, as you said, I don't think it's a big thing. I mean, we got through with this system for many, many years of Test cricket. So as long as they're checking the no balls, and Stokes is way over.
They're not checking them.
No, but when there's a wicket, a wicket. And of course, you know what they did show in the break on Fox? They have to show it about 100 times every summer. It's in his contract.
Yeah.
So and do you remember that guy in the t-shirt says Warnie's grouse, and he throws the hat down?
Warnie's grouse at cricket, yeah.
And
that
it was fine the first time I saw it.
Yeah, what grouse means, because I don't think it's Australian slang. I think it's Victorian slang. I've never used the word grouse.
Some VFL saying or something.
Yeah, so bloody frustrated. What I don't understand is, still can't they get the third umpire to look? What technology did they have? I mean, is it some sort of bell that went off? I actually thought that the third umpire was just doing it visually. That would still be better than the current situation. Why not just do that? Well, the third umpire's just up there having cups of tea.
But anyway. I wonder if the umpire had warned Stokes, because Stokes had, as soon as they said they're going to check it, he went, okay, and he started walking back. So I wonder if the umpire had said a couple of balls before. I think you're pretty close to the line.
Maybe.
All righty, let's get into the questions from the audience. For those listening on podcast, Paul and I will take turns reading them out. I'll go first. This is from Reese Kemp. I still think England have the bowlers to trouble Australia in this series if they can get their selections right. I love the way the Aussies took down Leach and put the pressure back on the quicks.
I agree. And that's the thing, that if England do end up getting thrashed in this match, they should look to the fact that had they not made things so hard for themselves, they could have been ultra competitive here. All they need is to get the better of conditions in Adelaide. It could be 1-1 very quickly, and the series could be on.
Yeah, 5th test under lights. That was confirmed today. And as I said, you just have to go back one summer to India being bowled out for 32 or whatever, 36, and they win the series.
I didn't even know that. That's how much cricket's been on today. I didn't know. Is it at the MCG?
No, they don't know. They haven't announced where, but Hockley was on SEN and he said it has to be pink ball because of the TV. So even though I've been campaigning, he said, he didn't say it, but I could tell he was responding to my ire. Anyway, next question from Aiden.
If Harris underdelivers the next innings of this test and next test, do we drop him for Usman? I think that's a strong possibility, yes.
Yeah, so head security spot now at 5. I don't think they'll give Harris more than 2 tests if he doesn't perform. So, yeah, I think, Aiden, you're spot on. Aiden, just a comment. Look at these 2 good-looking fellas. That's correct, a good comment.
Brewer 74.
Yeah, you go.
You struggle with this whole concept of taking turns, don't you, Menace?
Yeah, well, you're going.
We all got some... Oh, that's why you didn't read it. He congratulates Head on his performance today and says, will this be the end of Khawaja? Smith needs to lift and looks out of form. Well, I think that we just said in the previous question, Khawaja could come in as an opener. And I think one innings from Smith, you can't judge him from that. And I think he's got a bit of grace.
Now, Luke Barrett, don't forget to mention the Australia A versus England Lions game. England Lions following the senior team at 3 for 13 at stump. So, Luke, I won't forget. So Australia AV taking on England. I saw this game being played, and my first instinct was I'm annoyed that all these players like Renshaw and Maddinson and Kawaja and Mitch Marsh aren't playing in the Big Bash. They're playing some bloody England's Lions team. But I guess you need some red ball cricket being played.
Yeah, it's a good point, though. I mean, we've been trying to get into the Big Bash, and I've watched a lot of it and enjoyed it, but there does seem to be a lack of depth in the squads that would be certainly improved by some of those players being in there.
So Australia A batted first, made 213. Bryce Street made 26. Henry Hunt 33. That sounds very similar to what Travis Head said before. Matthew Renshaw 38. Nick Manson a duck, unfortunately, your man Maddo. Usman Khawaja 11 off 20. Mitch Marsh 33 off 45. That's about
he's in for Adelaide.
He's in form.
Captain.
Josh Inglis 6 off 10. So yeah, all out for 213. And England are 3 for 13. Nisa, Steckety and Boland have 1 wicket each. Rob Yates is gone. Alex Lees is gone. Tom Abel's gone. James Bracey's 5 not out. Matt Fisher's a duck not out. So there you go, Luke. The England Lions in trouble. All in all, just another shocking day for English cricket. And I'm just going through. There's a lot of comments here that aren't questions. So we'll just keep going. Oh, here we go.
Now, whose turn is it? I forgot. No, is it yours?
It's yours.
Labuschagne helped to anchor the innings with Warner. Menners is right that it was a bad shot, but he did his job well. Can't complain. Brewer 74. Yes, that's right.
I disagree. It was a bad shot, and I can't complain. But yeah, no, I'm not complaining. I love Marnus, and I actually thought it was a great number 3 innings. I just would have liked to have seen him make 174 from that position. Next comment, Balram Morel. Where's the diva?
He just read that question.
What?
You're the diva.
Well, the next question is Manners is the diva. The next comment.
Very good.
But Jaleesa Apps, is part of Cricket Unfiltered. She'll be joining us for some Cricket Daily, but she has a job, like she's reading the news and stuff at night. This is a good comment. Pommy Bingo, great idea. I think we should start it off. You can take this one.
From Stephen Matlock, I think Stark will knock Warney back, though. Yeah, that's quite interesting. I don't know how it works. Do you have the option to say no? And if you do say no, does that mean you don't get to participate in the 100 altogether? I'd like to see it happen.
Now, Martin Lawrence has actually asked a question here. Is this the worst day for England in Australia since the famous day 1, also in Brisbane in 2002, that famous toss? Then AGS Cricket has followed up with, there's so many to choose from, Martin.
Yeah. I mean, there's the 2006 day 5 Adelaide, which probably haunts them the most, that where Australia won from nowhere. But you're right. You could pretty much name every day of the 2013-14 tour, all however many days it lasted.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to say no, Martin. I actually think England, they've had a lot of glorious failures. So there's plenty of days to choose from, especially in the last 20 years. The last 3 tours, just tons of them. Well, I think that's it for all the questions. Thanks everybody that's written in.
Yes, thanks. Keep on writing them in. They're good.
Alrighty, well, thanks everyone for listening to Cricket Daily, your daily dose of Ashes news, bronze medal winners. Paul, what's happening tomorrow night? Are we doing a show or are you out?
I'm not sure. We'll definitely do a show at some point. We'll hopefully just after stumps, but if life gets in the way, as soon as
might be a bit later.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for listening on the podcast feed, whether that's Cricket Daily or the Cricket Unfiltered feed. Thanks for everyone that's watched on YouTube and left comments. We really love having live viewers. And go Travis Head, go Australia.
For all the criticism of it, it was a wonderful day of Test cricket.